Back in 1981, paintball began as what was called a survival game. Since then, this game has evolved in more ways than one. For this particular video, we're going to be discussing the basic elements of a paintball team. Now, I'm not going to get into whether they're a conventional or special ops inspired unit, but at the end of the day, anything past this video, I may save for another video or series altogether. However, this is the bare basics of a paintball team, and we're talking wood scenario or a mil sim team. With that being said, follow along and enjoy.
Okay, for all of us who are team leaders or building up our teams and taking the reins as a team leader, a lot of people think that team leaders should carry light kit, medium weapons, stuff like that. However, my beliefs as a team leader for how long I've been in this sport is essentially you're carrying a general loadout. If, let's say, you got rifleman setups or you've got grenadiers or anything like that, your team is set up around military lines. If you're doing that, your team leader should always be a step above your basic rifle setup. That means same basic loadout with a little extra. For me, I chose to run a Molly 2 medic vest. This one I set up to be a general purpose. Now, I will make a remark about gear setup as far as the team goes. Depending upon your role, anything aside from specific team positions should always be general purpose, meaning if you're running between a hopper fed marker or a magazine fed marker, you want the flexibility. Mag shingles are a great thing depending on what kind of marker you're running. They're great across the board. However, they're only specifically for magazine fed players. I run between a mag and a hopper fed, so I need the flexibility because I do not want to be sitting in that staging area swapping pouches all day or be stuck with a particular marker for that particular day or game. So flexibility for me is key. Hence, I run these universal type magazine pouches. These things are great. If I was running real steel or playing airsoft, I'd hold 330 round Stanag mags for your AR type platforms or other NATO weapons, or I'd be running two mags of your 545 or 762 or AK style 556 mags. For a paintball, I've got in each one two 20 round magazines of 68 caliber for my primary, but I could also hold two or three 30 round 50 caliber magazines. Aside from that, as far as a team leader goes specifically, two of the biggest things you're going to need are your comms gear and administrative items such as your maps and stuff like that, because even though you're shooting, you're also having to communicate a lot more with your team as well as other groups if necessary. So, general purpose pouch up here can carry small items such as your maps, a compass, pens, anything like that from an administrative point if you're trying to coordinate or work out the plan in the field with your team. Especially if you're doing a more robust scenario or outlaw game, That is where all this stuff really comes into focus. Aside from that, if you know the field, you can probably run off instinct, though. If it's a scenario, you might want to keep everything with you, hence the setup. If we move over to the back, the best is for a team leader should always be a general setup. Now, in this case, I've got a camelback carrier hooked up here with the air tank carrier hooked into the molly webbing on the camelback carrier. Now, I could run the camelback either with the camelback bladder in here or use it as a mini day pack for anything I need in the field. However, bad side, I'd have to take the vest off to get to it or have a teammate do it. However, mollied up here too, as I said, that way I could attach other items to the back of my vest as far as grenades or anything like that if I'm running for specific CQB environments where stuff like distraction devices and grenades are allowed. So I'd carry a stack of 3 of the bang type grenades on here, or 3 of those Enola Gay or Sport smoke grenades, depending upon the scenario. Other than that, that's pretty much a general loadout of a team leader.
Now, there is going to be debate about whether or not a team leader should run a grenade launcher. This would be a grenadier role if you're talking about a standalone team member doing this, but for a team leader, this allows the team leader to be more flexible and to run point on many CQB style games, because the shells used in paintball and airsoft 203 rounds could be anything from little foam footballs to having a shotgun effect. Therefore, choose wisely on this one.
Alright, now we're getting into the basic of the rifleman. This one is a mag-fed setup. And now, think for a rifleman, you are down to your basics. You are jack of all trades, master of none deal. So for this particular case, everything is set up for basic functions, basic needs. Ammo, either hopper or mag bed. In this case, I'm doing magazines. Flip over to the back. You've got water, air. That is as basic as it gets. That is pretty much the rifleman in a nutshell. Bare basics, everything minimalistic to a good point. Now, I do have a little general purpose pouch. This is technically like a saw pouch. For some players, they'll mark this off as an IFAK if they're running an IFAK personally, or for a scenario. General purpose pouch for any extra kit they carry, or if you're supporting a automatic rifle or machine gun setup, which is going to be covered later. Got 2 additional pods in here, so that way the ammo, the paint for the machine gunner or automatic rifleman are spread load throughout the team. that is essentially the job of the rifleman. They could act as an ammo bearer for the heavier firepower in the team. They could be the guy you send on point. These guys fill in the gaps where your specialized players don't fill. And other than that, that's pretty much the rifleman setup for a mag fed anyway. I know. This is the second rifleman style setup for this video. And because I'm going to also be sharing this on some MagFed boards, I know the guys that are hardcore MagFed guys are going to have their fifis hurt. I apologize in advance. Now, as I said with the MagFed setup, even with a hopper setup like this for a rifleman style, this would be ideal, yet kind of a little bit overboard because I'm carrying 6 pods up front. This is essentially your basic rifle setup, or if you're running something that's a little more high tech that could lay out firepower, pretty much an automatic rifle setup. But I digress. We'll be discussing that a little further. Bare basics, I would just probably stick to 4 pods up front for a basic rifle if I'm doing a hopper fed. But marker wise, if you're doing a hopper fed for a rifleman, bare basics are always good, such as US Army Alpha Black. Semi-auto only, hopper fed, very flexible, very maneuverable, built on a 98 custom platform. Definitely nice and versatile enough to meet player needs, but limited modification capabilities. If you're running MagFed, then basic MagFed player should also be semi-auto only or select fire depending upon player preference. However, more often than not, basic riflemen could go either semi or select fire depending upon their gun setup. Aside from that, keep it basic, keep it minimalistic almost. Sight, grip, that's about it. Okay, I know I used this best setup before for the hopper fed rifleman. However, this can also be applicable to the automatic rifleman setup for a team. This is just a concept, as I've been saying. However, what separates the basic rifleman from an automatic rifleman is it's all in the name: full auto firepower. Anybody could pick up the automatic rifleman slot, but for the guys best to do it superbly, it's all about your gun setup. Now, you could alternatively use a magazine fed marker with a box mag if you like. However, it is still acceptable to run a solid hopper fed in as the automatic rifleman. If you're doing it the same concept as the Marine Corps' HK M27 infantry automatic rifles, then stick with the mag feds. But if you're doing flexible or employing this idea of automatic rifleman more around the saw gun, then the hopper fed is your best friend because of its firepower. Now, the automatic rifleman's marker of choice is still flexible like a rifle. However, it is still designed to put out heavy firepower. And this is exemplified especially with an electronic trigger to generate that 20 shot per second string that will keep opposing players' heads down while your team advances. But why stop there? Flip out the bipod for it so that way you can dig in your position and provide that base of fire either offensively or defensively. That's the beauty about the automatic rifleman. They could provide the heavy firepower while keeping pace with the rest of the team, whether they're advancing or pulling out of something. Okay, the machine gunner. This is the pinnacle of the supporting fire for a team. This is organic to any tactical team as far as when you need heavy firepower and you need to lay it down and need to keep it constant. This is pretty much strictly a hopper fed player's domain. Now, with this setup the way it is, I would probably recommend a mesh vest on this one. This one isn't as breathable. This one is Condor. Condor being solid for airsoft, but paintball players use it. Hell, this vest is even seen the design anyway, at least seen real world combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. But for my setup for this, 4 pods up front, though you could also use these for a magazine or two a piece if you're running a mag fed system as an automatic rifleman. But if you're running just the machine gun, strictly hopper, as I said. You've got 4 up front if you need to do rapid reloads while on the go, but on the back is where this position really shines in. As you can see, machine gun player is all about the firepower. You got not just your tank in the back, but you got 4 pods ready to go. Either the machine gun player could reach it himself, or if they're lying in the prone position, you can have a teammate come back behind them, open this thing up, yank a pod out, and act as an assistant gunner for a second for the machine gunner. However, we got 2 different schools of thought on this one for a machine gun position. One is the conventional infantry model where the machine gunner, their primary weapon is the machine gun, but you've got an ammo bearer or an assistant gunner with them hauling extra ammo. Or in a fire team setup for a conventional team, additional ammo is going to be spread loaded throughout the entire team. In a special operations format, the machine gunner is the weapon carried on the individual level, so they're carrying the majority of the ammo with additional ammo spread throughout the team if necessary. Now, gun-wise, in this case, this is the machine gun, strictly a hopper-fed instrument, and you want a mechanical trigger. In the case of a Tipman, it's going to be a response trigger. That way you can keep it sweet spotted, right on target, and keep that 15 shot a second going down range. You just gotta hold it there. Unlike the electronic triggers where you've gotta keep pulling it for certain fire modes, or you've gotta ramp it to a fire mode depending upon what gun it is or how it's configured. A response trigger, you don't have that problem. Generous 200 rounds on tap. One thing, you want to have the bipod up front. This is so that way it maximizes how your machine gun is set up. Extendable legs allows you to keep things configured properly for what kind of terrain you're shooting on. And you can easily fold this thing up and be on the move with the rest of the team. You can easily deploy this thing when you take contact, or you can just dig in with this thing to allow your team to advance or to pull out if they need the firepower support. Other than that, this is going to be heavier than most of the other guns within the group. Keep that in mind, but generally speaking, the machine gunner carries all the firepower. They're the slowest guy, but when it comes time to lay down that firepower, the team loves them. Alright, your designated marksmen and your snipers. I'm lumping these two together because there isn't that much difference between them. What they have in common is that they both have to be good shots. Where they differ, though, a designated marksman is the kind of guy that is set up for rapid engagement, rapid precision fire, while the sniper is set up for more precision, long-range shooting. DMRs are usually rapid, closer in. However, the sniper, gun-wise, their paintball marker has to fire shaped projectiles, such as the first strike rounds, which are pretty much a reverse-engineered Minier round. Civil War freaks, you understand what I'm talking about, but long story short, shaped projectiles, long range, better accuracy, that's a sniper. Could be used for a designated marksman, but that's more for a semi-auto marker for the DMR setup. The other thing that separates a sniper is camouflage and a solid optic. Now, as you can see, got a rifle wrap on my gun. This is very important to break up the outline. For a sniper, it's not just their shooting prowess, but their ability to camouflage themselves and their gun to match the environment. That's the difference between a sniper and a DMR. The sniper knows marksmanship down to the science and is a master of camouflage. A DMR is just a crack shot within a team that can provide suppressing fire, as we have two schools of thought with supporting fire. You have supporting fire based on volume of fire, and then you have supporting fire by precision fire, meaning you could suppress a target with heavy firepower, just spray and pray, blank an entire area. Or You can have precision shots on specific people or specific targets to keep the other team's heads down during the game. Aside from that, another thing for a sniper, optics. This one is a 4-power optic, a cheapo airsoft scope that you could get just about anywhere. However, a good paintball sniper will know how to dial their sight in to get those good shots with a first strike round. Other than that, the same kind of best setup for a sniper, DMR, or a rifleman. All three are essentially identical. The only difference is that the skill set. The rifleman is pretty much down and dirty. The DMR is more precise in their shooting prowess. Aside from that, that's all she wrote. Okay, what you guys saw was your breakdown in the most basic team configuration. Now, you can play around with numbers or anything like that, but long story short, this is only scratching the surface. I didn't even talk about any force multiplier concepts like recon drone pilot, basically the guy carrying a little handheld drone you get from Sharper Image catalog, or you don't have players that are dedicated communications guys or anything like that. Now, as I said, this is just scratching the surface. You could even make your team more specialized, being a sniper team or being a specialized shock troop unit. All this depends upon how motivated you and your teammates are and how far you guys want to take this. Oh, you go to some of these bigger scenario games, you got guys riding around in fucking tanks. Either some kind of hobbled together Mad Max thing that the guys that have actually been to places like Iraq and Afghanistan will call technicals, but I digress. Anyway, check out my article for this over at outerheavenpaintball.blogspot.com. Link will be in the description to this video. If you guys want this cool Outer Heaven jersey that I'm wearing here, or if you want to get other Outer Heaven related merch, go check out my Outer Heaven Teespring shop. And same goes for our friends over at Acid Tactical. If you want to get some of the cool shit that's attached to my gun, like flashlights, lasers, and stuff like that, Acid Tactical's got your back. And check them out over at acidtactical.com. Links for the Acid Tactical website, as well as their various shops and Teespring shop, will be in the description to this video. And remember, when the shit hits the fan and you've got to trust your gear with your life, ask yourself this one question: can your gear survive the acid test? Well, anyway, guys, this is Big Boss, and I'm out of here.